Right, welcome back to Truck Simulator. It looks a little different maybe. We're celebrating the 10 years anniversary still, and this is version 1.4, one of the early versions that was available on Steam. I chose 1.4 simply because it has some extra little tweaks and stability and quality of life changes, but was still in the first year that it was available on Steam. So yeah, we're going to have some fun. One note is that the saved game editor that I habitually use to set up new saves for speedrunning and such doesn't work on this version. So I was able to downpatch using a depot downloader. But yeah, Virtual Speditor was not developed when this came out. Okay, and the steering is super twitchy on this controller. I wish it was like that on this on the live version. It seems back then I was still using, I think, keyboard in order to control everything when I first started playing this game. I really wish that the controller sensitivity was like it is now, or was it as then. But yeah, the save game editor doesn't work, so I had to spend several hours actually grinding up an account to the point that I could deliver from Prague to Calais, which is what I did in the live version recently. Originally wanting to go to Amsterdam, but not being able to find a delivery on the external contract system. And then the other thing with this is fines can't be turned off, so I'm actually going to be receiving the consequences of my actions. Yeah, so needing to set up an account or setting up a new profile on this version took quite a while. Obviously this isn't the best truck. It's one of the Volvos, but it's by no means the best available. It has the second powerful engine. It's a slight upgrade on the base version. It's basically the best level 8 or whatever can buy. We could have just, you know, reset until we got a good quick job that went from point to point instead, but I wanted to have a little bit more control over what I had instead of just leaving it up to whatever the game was going to give me in terms of truck. But it took a while to actually get a delivery because, again, Virtual Speditor not being available, like it didn't decode the save file, so it couldn't then save with a specific delivery, so I had to just rely on luck. Okay, this is absurdly sensitive. Maybe I just use the keyboard. This is worse than it was when I was doing the leveling for this, but I have to reinitialize the controller every single time I load into it. For whatever reason, it doesn't remember it. Even though I made sure that the control was turned on before I actually started the game. Actually, I think I know what it is. It'll be that the wheel subtype is... So I've had it mentioned recently that having this set to wheel is better than gamepad joystick. It doesn't make any difference to me on the live version. There we go. But it does make a difference, it seems, on the old version, so that's interesting. So the game hasn't changed a huge amount. There's obviously quality of life changes, there's a hell of a lot more options now than there ever was. The lighting is the main difference. There's more high-res textures now, of course, and the lighting is a big difference that they changed only a few years ago, and it really gave the game a new lease of life. Because as you can see, the lighting in this is just a little bit kind of flat. But it's not bad for a 10-year-old game, let's be honest. It'll be interesting to do a side-by-side between this and my other video. I'm actually not even sure if it's getting me to go the same route, because the roads are quite different. They've changed Germany in particular quite a lot. in the intervening years, even just recently, really. They were focused more on just the new DLCs over the last 6 or 7 years, but just in the last couple, they've been more interested in going back and redoing some of the earliest areas, such as the north of France and most of Germany, Austria most recently as well. The main differences, other than the new roads, is just the way that the roads are formatted. The intersections have generally been made more distinct these days, whereas back in the old version, it's much more just template intersections where they'll just follow a specific model and be really skinny as well a lot of the time. We also don't get the option of the Michelin tires, so we can't make the most out of the larger tires for a better top speed or anything. Not that we could do that anyway with this particular truck. Also don't have as many sound options, so I've just turned the sound effects way down so that the engine isn't deafening, because we don't have separate sliders for engine and turbo and stuff like that. The skybox is definitely smudgier and much lower resolution. All the settings are still set to the same as what I normally have them on, so high, ultra, stuff like that, except for shadows. Cruise control is the other really annoying change, or the annoying lack. So cruise control at this stage of the game, you could set it once you got up to a certain speed, you could set and forget. But as soon as you braked or accelerated, it would turn it off. There was no resume function, and there was no way to just increment the speed up or down from a particular setting. So you first had to accelerate to 90 to be able to set the cruise to 90, for example. You couldn't set it at 60 and then dial it up and have it accelerate for you. And you couldn't just have it set for an open road speed like I normally do, as I'll have it set for 90 or however fast I'm going on the open road. And then when I'm cruising around town, I'll just do it myself and then just re-enable cruise every time I get onto an open road. Or if I'm having to brake for a corner, then I just resume it afterwards. Can't do that on this version. There's definitely been some quality of life improvements. I mean, this was definitely a big step up over the original Euro Truck Simulator. Be interesting to know what anniversary that's coming up for. That's got to be like 15 to 20 years old by now. The other big difference, of course, is that there's no map DLC at this level. That's the other reason I chose 1.4. 1.5, I believe, is when Going East came out, or they started preparing for it anyway. I couldn't really go any earlier than 1.4 because the game versions on Steam for the different depots didn't really match up in terms of dates. So I wanted to make sure that the dates were exactly the same between the executable and the content depots, because otherwise there's a potential for instability. And 1.4 was about the butter zone for that. Oh, hit cruise at 94. So I do have a couple of drivers hired, since I needed to get the $500,000 loan in order to buy my own truck anyway. I was tempted to do a first truck and trailer speedrun, and then I realized that there's not trailers in this. This version is before they added ownable trailers, so that category doesn't exist for this version of the game. First truck would be the only one that you could do. You can get that much sooner. Otherwise, could have done garage revenue or something. I still might, but categories like that I don't have a time in or a good time in. I could probably do a 10 deliveries run quicker than my PB on this version of the game. It might be easier to as well, actually. Only difference being that I believe the best city for the 10 deliveries speedrun now is Torino, which requires the Italian DLC, which obviously doesn't work on this version. We used to start in Amsterdam otherwise, but you pretty much always ended up having to abandon a delivery to Rotterdam because you didn't have enough lined up. I think the 5 deliveries you could still do in Amsterdam, but 10 you have to go elsewhere. Torino, it seems you just always have enough available. I think most of the other categories for speedrunning would be worse on the old versions, simply because you really want to have more gearbox variation. This has 2 choices of gearbox for this truck. They are both 12 speeds, and they don't even tell you what the ratio is. I don't think it's the best one. And without the Michelin tyres, you can't tune that for better top speed. But just the deliveries one doesn't require any of that. And then you can benefit from the more arcade handling. At some point I think they also increased the traffic density, and then eventually made it more configurable. So it definitely feels like between this and 1.30 it got worse, and then from about 1.35 to present day it got better again. I also have the fatigue simulation turned off for this run, because I just can't be bothered trying to juggle having a rest. I do have a huge amount of time on this job though, so if it starts to get late, I'll sleep through the night, because I don't really want to have nighttime driving. That said, nighttime driving is arguably easier on this earlier game version, because the lighting was worse in pretty much every respect. It did mean that your high beam headlights illuminate so much more than what they do now. Now they're a bit too realistic, and they kind of wash out a bit. Whereas with this version, because it was just kind of rough projection lighting, it just spotlit everything. I mean, you can see the amount of spread just my normal beams are doing. And all of the other traffic as well. The riverbanks look a bit rough. Whoop. Getting my sticks confused. The water textures still looked pretty good, but the edges certainly a bit rough. The vegetation detail is obviously a little bit shaky as well. That never really hugely bothered me though. I mean, I do really enjoy the fact that now you can pretty much take a screenshot, show it to someone, and they might think it's a photograph. Especially in, like, thumbnail size. But high fidelity graphics was never the point of this game. So this was perfectly adequate. It's not just, like, sprite-based graphics, at least. They're actually 3D trees. I think the first game, Euro Truck Simulator, say the first of this particular franchise, not including the 18 Wheels of Steel series, Euro Truck Simulator 1, I think it basically just had a small gap between the road and the tree line, and then that was just like a flat texture. Oh, we've got some roadworks. I don't think they even have the ambient noises of roadworking. So this is a pretty long delivery. Got another half an hour or so still to go. I think the new roads that they've added in have definitely improved the trip across Germany. You can see the stars starting to shine through the clouds. A little bit rough. I think we'll take a rest at the 40-something, looks like. There's the gas station that's starting to show up on the left side of my GPS at the moment. We'll drive down there, take that turn up to that motorway, and then we'll stop in there for a rest, I think, and fill up with gas. Still had a bit of ambience on the side of the road there. The wind turbines, very old style. Can't actually remember when I started playing this, whether it was this sort of version. I think it was probably a little bit later. I imagine I picked it up on like Steam sales after a year or so of it being out, because I'm fairly sure when I bought this game it included the Going East DLC already. I had Poland to be able to explore, but I didn't at first have the French expansion. That was separate. So sometime between those dates. Then I know I played it at one point on my computer at the time. They didn't have Steam cloud saves or anything, I don't believe. My hard drive actually ended up getting corrupted at one point, so I lost that, and I had to start again later. And I started playing again after I started playing American Truck Simulator. That kind of reminded me of the European version, and I started getting back into it at that point. So that would have been about 3 or 4 years ago, I think. And that's what all my current progress is based on. I've definitely got a good amount of staying power, I think. If you enjoy this style of game, there's a lot to love about just the motion of driving your way through the countryside. Especially given that now it does look better than it does here. It's mostly the quality of life changes that I miss coming back to this old version. I don't have, for example, the speed limit on my GPS. Something as simple as that I lack. So I don't actually know when I'm speeding or not. You have to pay attention to the road signs. There's a fun element of difficulty to that. I think that was added as an option, so I think you can still turn off and play a bit more hardcore. But it's also a fair point that most GPS will tell you that. If they've got a good map loaded, they will know. And they will tell you if you're speeding. We're going to pop in here and rest. The gas stations only ever used to have just a single point to stop at, which is really annoying if there's someone else using it. Stop. Oh, wrong one. Engine off. There's that one instead. Fewer keys that you can bind as well. Like, I couldn't rebind the main menu button to my controller. I had to, if I want to pause using the controller, I can go to the map, but I can't go to the main menu. Now, where's the actual rest stop bit? Just up here. Boink. There we go. Lovely morning to start off again. And we still have over a day left to do the delivery. It's not an urgent delivery. That's for sure. So that tree looks pretty good, even driving through the leaves. You know, at a glance, not bad. This is where I really miss being able to just hit the cruise control resume button and then be able to just have my hand off the trigger. So I've just got to hold my finger down. Definitely some more accessibility issues back when this was released. Almost back up to 94, so I can hit cruise again. There we go. Lovely drive through the countryside. Trying to cut some corners here and there just to shave little bits of time off here and there. It is useful that I can at least set the cruise to 94 and just slightly speed, but still be under the camera thing. Not that it really matters, I can afford to burn the money on the fines if I get hit by speeding cameras, but I am trying to do this a bit more comparable to how I did the delivery more recently, where I took an external contract, so I was limited to 90 in the live version of the game. This we can go a little bit faster. But I feel it balances out because the roads are not quite as good quality in this version. So it'll still take us at least as long, if not longer, quite possibly, to finish the delivery. See, once again, here's where it's annoying that I have to slow down for the corner. Instead of it being a nicer interchange, it's just one of these cookie cutter ones. Slow down to the corner, I can accelerate out, but now I have to hold down the trigger myself instead of just hitting resume. Never mind. It is really interesting that in all of the versions of the game, even up to present day, there's still no roads that come out the west side of Kolm, Dusseldorf, or Duisburg and join on to that road that goes north, whichever it is, the one that heads up towards Amsterdam. I'm sure there must be, it can't just be a unbroken motorway going all the way up, because you've got to go all the way north of Duisburg till you get another connection. Surely there is a road west from Kolm that goes through to that road. If they had that in, it'll make the Istanbul to Aberdeen run a bit more tolerable. Because at the moment you walk to Kolm, then you have to go southeast again to loop back around. It's really annoying. But for this delivery, we're just going west. I think this bridge is pretty much still the same in both versions. I vaguely remember this bridge. So there's obviously this river goes north from here. But I still struggle to believe that there is no, I mean there's a big rail bridge right there, that there's no other bridge that goes further north. That crosses over further north. But hey, maybe. The other thing I really miss about this game version is the lack of cabin items to be able to decorate your truck with. Very little in the way of decoration ability. We just have basic steering wheel, we don't have any hood ornaments or windscreen ornaments or dangly things or anything at all. It's all just very basic. I'm glad that they added those ways that you can just personalize your truck just a little bit. I think it's important in a game like this. Gives you a sense of ownership to things. Still really wish that you could deck out your chosen headquarters better, like edit each garage individually. That would be nice. Another big river crossing. And here's the Liege airport again. I think that's not hugely changed. I think it's basically the same actually. We've still got the kind of split parts of Liege. I don't think that's been redone at all. Paris is certainly very different. I think Paris got completely redone for when they did the actual French expansion. For Vive la France, the big expansion that extended all the way to the south of the country. And that fleshed out Paris a lot more, kind of set more of the template of how they intended to do large capital cities. Because Oslo was similar for the Scandinavian DLC, where it's just quite spread out. Whereas in this, it's still just kind of one nexus, one industrial area for the entire city. I feel Calais is also a bit stripped back. I think it's been redone. Not actually sure. We'll find out. Oh, there is a little bit of the roadwork ambience. It's probably because it was after hours that I went past the other one. Still little jackhammery noises. I wish I had my 750 horsepower engine, but there was no way that I was grinding up to level 20 or whatever it is that you need for that. And once again, we've got to slow down and take the corner, and then take our time accelerating again. At least the next one we're just doing a right turn at, so we can maintain our speed. The other thing that's missing from this game version is the stability sliders. Truck and trailer stability are shaky at best, especially since that I'm in only just a short wheelbase truck still. I don't have the like 6-axle, well 6-wheel, the 3-axle chassis unlocked. That's a much higher level. So hauling a big trailer, obviously the 4x2 is the best for just speed running and stuff and going fast, but the 6x4 is what you really want for heavier deliveries. It's pretty versatile. I mean, it's also perfectly good for going fast as well. It's got good stability. The only lack is a bit of a wider turning circle and less chance to be able to do a nice skid to get through corners. Loan installments paid, yep. I still have my big loan to pay off. It's quite interesting starting the game over again and having that experience, like the first few jobs, just trying to not hit things and don't want to damage the cargo. At least you can damage your truck when you're just doing quick jobs because you don't have to pay for the repairs of it. But at least just trying not to damage the cargo so that you don't impact your experience or money income. And then once you buy your own truck, then you don't want to do the damage to the truck either. You're just really trying to maximize return to start with. Until eventually you get to the same point as I'm at in even American Truck Simulator now, really, where your AI drivers just earn you so much money that you don't need to worry about it. Heading up through Lille, that's definitely one that has been redone, I think. Over all the railways. $70 through here. I'll just speed anyway. If I get fined, so be it. Actually, there are speed cameras up here. Yeah. Oh, but we're back to 90 again for the speed camera zone anyway, so we're good. I mean, in my latest version run through this route, I definitely would have just kept going fast because to have fines disabled. You can't do that in this version. It actually took quite a while before traffic offences could be disabled. It's kind of interesting. And it was always really annoying. I don't mind the idea of penalising you for breaking road rules. That's fine. But it's really inconsistent. Like, you'll just get hit with a low speed limit area out of nowhere for like a real short space of time. And you'll just get hit with a fine, even though it's so annoying to slow down and speed back up again within such a short space. And other things like the AI vehicles are quite stupid, so they'll crash into you and you'll get fined. Or red lights, you'll just slightly cross the line and they'll hit you with a red light signal fine. Speeding in town is also something that's really easy to do, especially since the fact that on this game version you can't tell what the speed limit is meant to be. You've got to know how fast you're meant to be going. And on the open road, like, motorways are one limit, country roads are a different one, so knowing whether or not you're meant to be going 70 or 90, you've got to really pay attention to the signs on the side of the road when you're playing by those rules. Whereas nowadays you both have the speed indicated on the GPS itself, and also your speed will start to turn red once you're actually exceeding the speed limit. We are almost there. And we do not want the Channel Tunnel, which is straight ahead. We are heading to the right. Quite a lean going on. And we're going to be able to accelerate nearly close to 90 before we end up in the city. I remember we got quite screwed by the traffic lights in the live version run. Yeah, 90 down to 50, and then immediately afterwards, that's where the speed cameras are. Calais discovered. We'll indicate properly. Oh, epic music, just at the right time. Welcoming us to Calais. Perfect timing on the lights. Except for the fact that that car took forever to accelerate. And now the other difference with the current version of the game is you don't get an option in this version of how to park your trailer. You don't need to stop and check in and choose which delivery option you want to take. You just immediately get the option to... so I don't get caught up in the gate, eh? Get the option to just terminate the delivery and not do car parking. Like so, skip the parking, the trailer, etc. Or you just park it yourself, and you don't get a choice of different experience giving options. It's just one and done. Not a good angle. Let's correct ourselves a little bit here. A little bit wide? Good enough. Voila. Excellent. Diggers delivered from Prague to Calais. Oh, and we go up to level 10. Almost to level 11, in fact. Very nice. Obviously, I had to take all of the long distance ones first, just so we could actually go from Prague to Calais, because it's a long way. You've got to max that out straight away. So you can see I've done a little bit of driving, just even in this version. Because it took a while to level up. But that was the map as it was. Actually, Torino is in this game version. Interesting, so maybe I can do some 10 deliveries. I'll just start down there instead. Interesting. Well, that was Prague to Calais in version 1.4. There's the truck, there's the diggers. That was a good bit of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Be fun to do a side-by-side viewing of this and the latest version. Do check out the other 10 years of ETS2 run that I did from Prague to Calais on the latest version of the game. It looks much prettier. This one's not bad, but they've definitely made some good changes around the lighting and the textures. So, yeah, feel free to check that out.